Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Gwendolyn Regina, Investment Director at BNB Chain. So, today I want to talk to you about how we are bringing the first billion users into Web3. So, if you know who this is, you are probably really young because I did not know who this gentleman is, but his name is Quavo, American rapper. And what's interesting about Quavo is that he performed in the metaverse a few months ago. So Quavo performed in Second Life, and Second Life is built on BNB Chain. We'll go into what BNB Chain is shortly. But what's interesting right now is that we're really looking at the evolution of entertainment. So think like, hundreds and thousands of years ago, our ancestors sang and danced around campfires to evolve to modern day large concerts and then now metaverse concerts. So entertainment has evolved. Experiences are changing. And as well, digital assets. So pre-Web3, Web3 seems to be a very buzzy term, right? But ultimately it's technology. So when we just take a look back at what happened before the whole blockchain, crypto, and Web3 buzz, we actually first saw the first iteration of digital money in the form of DigiCash back in 1989. Then it morphed to QQ, so by Tencent, so from China, where people were paying in coins to change their avatars, and stuff like that. And that was in 2002. And now in this recent iteration, this was a virtual planet in a game that was sold for $6 million back in 2011. But now, really fast forward to 2022, and what are we seeing, right? So we've all seen how Bitcoin has taken the world by storm. But you see Bitcoin in mass media everywhere, the newspapers, publishers, online media you're reading. And really, that is the start of what a Web3 digital asset is, right? So we have cryptocurrencies and we have non-fungible tokens, NFTs. So NFTs has really took off about a year and a half or so ago, where if you've seen some reports in the media where people are buying and selling monkey pictures for millions of dollars, so that's NFTs. And now when we talk about what's now and what's going to be in the future, that's where Web3 is extremely exciting. And at the end of this presentation, I'll give you a short hint about some of the projects that we're seeing. But really, let's take a step back, right? So BNB Chain, our goal is to accelerate the adoption of digital assets and blockchain technology by onboarding the first 1 billion Web3 users. BNB Chain is a technology infrastructure. We are a public blockchain with the largest community today in Web3. So at all-time high, we saw about 2 million plus daily active users and 16 million all-time high of daily transactions. So if you're coming from the Web2 world, you're like, hey, wow, that sounds small. But think about it. We're really at the cusp and really at the nascent stages of blockchain technology. And right now, these are the largest numbers in the market today. So on an average basis right now, we're doing about 1 million daily actives, and that's again several times more than other public blockchains as an example. So some of key milestones I highlight, and I'm not going to highlight anything key numbers here, but if you know what to look for, this is it. And one thing that's very important for us is that BNB Chain is one of the best performing blockchains today. So we have been very reliable, scalable, proven robustness, serving 1 million daily active users. And across the last 2 years that we've been alive, we've been around, we've really only just gone down once, just a few weeks ago because of something else. But really, it's been extremely robust. And we've been proud to say that we've really served 1 million daily actives, again, at scale. But what we realize is that, when you are planning and building blockchain technologies for the future, we need to look past what we have today and plan for the future. So what we realized was that, at our peak, we did not go down, but we did slow down. right? So we saw the opportunity and asked ourselves like, hey, how can our technology be even more robust, right? So we've been thinking about scalability. We've moved to a multi-chain infrastructure. And for those of you who, look at this and, you're like, hey, you understand what's going on. This is very, very cool because you're talking about a multi-chain infrastructure that's really meant to onboard and provide developers and builders and entrepreneurs choice in what chain they can use for their projects and startups. So, but technology is really one part of the equation needed to power the next generation of digital assets and to bring Web3 to 1 billion users. You really need community, right? We always talk about users, who's your target audience, right? Who is speaking to. And in Web3, community is even more important because in Web3, the economics change. You really need to incentivize and bring in your community of users buy into your vision from the get-go. So at BNB Chain, we really think about how we use our technology, but also our community to help projects and entrepreneurs out there grow and accelerate their own projects. So we at BNB Chain, we want to make sure that we are going all out to talk to people on the ground, talent like yourselves, future entrepreneurs and builders of tomorrow, right? So we do a lot of sponsorship of hackathons. We are doing R&D events. We're doing a lot of campuses events, right? Something like this, for example. And, we just do a lot of on-the-ground engagement. So we ourselves organize hackathons. So obviously you're familiar with the concept of a hackathon with builders, entrepreneurs come together. Could be anything over a weekend, or in this case, over 50 days, where you have problem statements given to you and you're building to solve these problem statements for prizes, right? So so this is an example of what we did a few months ago. And we also sponsor a lot of hackathons out there. And in the Web3 world, we also think about how can we, in a sense, use capital to incentivize and fund and help projects, get their start a little bit better, a little bit more easier, and make the finances and costs defray a little bit of the cost in terms of running their businesses. So we do have guest incentive programs where projects who are doing really well in terms of their traction could see some of their costs being defrayed. And if you're a developer, wanting to learn about Web3, please join our Discord program where we have 24/7 assistance in terms of anything you want to ask about building on BNB Chain. And okay, so we've kind of talked a little bit about tech, kind of talked a little bit about some of the stuff we're doing on the ground, but really in terms of connecting the community is something that's deeply, deeply important to us. So we do have a large social media reach and many on-the-ground community managers talking to builders and entrepreneurs, again, on the ground in various events. And we support the key projects in the ecosystem, with a lot of different kind of opportunities to speak online, even physically at conferences. And we highlight a lot of them as well when we do kind of monthly highlights. Right. And we also link projects to the wider Binance ecosystem and partners, as well as just in general, outside BNB Chain, right? So projects and partners and leaders just in blockchain and crypto, if it makes sense to be connected to them, we will connect the projects to them. So really, a lot of you here have started your own companies, you're thinking of starting your own companies, or just thinking about, joining something in Web3 perhaps, right? So once you join a startup, you realize that all startups face some common problems, right? You're always looking at, okay, how do you find users, right? How do you find customers? How do you find product market fit? And how do you scale sustainably and profitably, right? So I want to just highlight product market fit as an important part because when you're building and innovating for a new market or new problem, you need to ensure that you're building something that is serving an audience that finds value in what you're building and will also correspondingly be engaged and be willing to, transact at whatever cost, be it paying you a fee or, whatever cost is necessary to engage with your product. So on BNB Chain side, we also have built out a internal kind of advisory team and portfolio management team where we work with startups across various aspects. One highlight is tokenomics advisory. So in Web2 terminology, it's like business model advisory, basically. Yeah, we also have incubation programs. And again, these are programs where we really make sure we are very hands-on with projects and startups. So I want to just spend the last few minutes kind of talking about, what would be the next generation of digital assets be, right? What are they looking like right now? And for those of you who are just exploring the space, give you some, some cool startups and ideas to kind of go research on that might whet your appetite in terms of learning more about and be inspired by what's going on and being built in Web3 right now. So again, recall this slide from earlier. We have cryptocurrencies and NFTs, and so then kind of what's next, right? So this is so DeFi as a category has been something that is the first use case of Web3. So DeFi stands for decentralized finance, right? So ultimately, that really means transferring of money, transferring of value, using blockchain technology. So here there's even more to it. This landscape of DeFi, the DeFi landscape slide here, it's we try to strike a balance between being comprehensive but also broad enough, right? Rather than being overwhelmed with details. But this is how we're thinking about something like DeFi, right? Where you're seeing how DeFi has changed from simple kind of quote unquote savings/yield to getting more sophisticated with a lot more traditional finance people kind of also thinking and entering this space. And then outside finance, but also always clearly linked, obviously, to just DeFi as a core tenet of blockchain and crypto, is we're seeing a lot of use cases that we are familiar ourselves in the traditional and Web2 worlds. So gaming, in traditional world and Web2 is one of the largest industries, and we also see the same thing in Web3. So BNB Chain, to emphasize again, we are the largest blockchain in the market. Again, 1 million daily active users, and of which 40% of our users are gaming. So we have a diverse variety of games, and this is one example. And another example that's very interesting is music. So all of us here listen to music, right? And some of us might not be, delving into the economics of the music industry, but really, there's always opportunities to improve across many different industries, and music is one example. So CoreWrite is a project that's built natively on BNB Chain, and what they do is they allow musicians and artists to crowdfund and crowdsource their next upcoming album with their fans. So one of the biggest artists that CoreWrite worked with is Alan Walker. So Alan Walker got more than 3,000 over of his fans to come together to support his upcoming album. So that's very interesting. If you're interested in music, please go check CoreWrite out. And again, I mentioned earlier, Quaver performed in Metaverse. So we're seeing again the interaction and intersection now of the different kind of projects in Web3. And this is an interesting project where, if you're watching, imagine a sports game online, right? Let's say on your laptop or it's a smart TV, for example. So this is still beta, but imagine one day if you can live bid so participate in an auction for the potential NFT that results from that goal or something like that, right? So if it's a goal, it's a beautiful goal, the NFT could be worth a lot later on. So this is very interesting because it combines live sports, which again, obviously is a huge traditional industry, but also NFTs and thus Web3. So you can really see that Web3, has really evolved again from the start, from cryptocurrencies to really, being innovative and thinking really about merging and bringing blockchain and Web3 to mass use cases that we're all familiar with, and combining them in new ways that makes it work. And this is AI. So obviously we all know about AI, right? And this is interesting because Alethea brings AI to NFTs. So this is their first example. So Sophia the robot, they had AI Sophia, basically intelligent Sophia. So Alethea makes intelligent NFTs, and this was sold on an auction for almost $500,000, as you can see here. So really, BNB Chain, when we think about Web3, how do we grow the pie? How can we bring Web3 to the first billion users? It's always important to bridge Web2 and Web3, because right now the tooling and infrastructure in Web2 and Web3, and even user experiences, are quite different. Yeah. So we think about, what makes sense in terms of balancing usability and balancing core Web3 nativeness, so to speak. So if you look at this example here, the Binance app now, so Binance app is a centralized player in the blockchain space, in the blockchain and crypto space. And what it does is that, so what does centralized mean? It means that you can log into Binance with just an email and password, stuff that you and I used to, right? But right now in Binance, you can use it to access DeFi. So then going on a slight tangent is that DeFi really is the ability to participate in this decentralized world where there's no email and password login. It's all keys, and these keys are like 12 words that's like very random, or a whole string of numbers and letters that really make zero sense, right? So there's different ways of engaging Web2 and Web3. And Web3 is confusing, like, even for myself, you have to make sure you take proper care of your keys, which are your password. So this is one example where we believe in centralized, decentralized finance. And the last bit I kind of want to talk about is that, again, tooling is very important. So we think about how can we, work with more projects that really build tooling to make that bridge easier. So this allows you to log into Web3 using your social media accounts that you're used to in Web2. So yeah, so ultimately we think about real life use cases of blockchain, how digital assets might evolve, and of course, mass crypto adoption. So we use these to really inform the way we do things. So for us, when we think about how can we bring 1 billion, we think about what do we invest in, and we think about a few layers: foundational infrastructure and technology, web and dev tooling, applications that we're used to, and then later on machine file, so interface. So just give a snapshot of how we think about just one category only. Of course, there's so many others. But yeah, so kind of that's it. So hopefully they give you an overview of how digital assets have evolved, but also some of the cool ideas that's out there right now. And if you are interested to build your Web3 project, come into Web3, please feel free to reach out to us on social media here. We are everywhere at BNB Chain. Join our Discord and talk to other developers and builders. So yeah, so thank you so much. So let's build Web3 together on BNB Chain. Thank you very much.